Ferris, Miss Nevada, and welcome back to the Inform to Reform podcast. Today I'm super excited to have our next guest. Her name is Lori, and she is the Carson City Mayor. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Lori Bagwell, Mayor of Carson City.
Thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited to get to know a little bit more about what your position is, what your role is in the Carson City government, and how you sort of make a difference in Carson City. And so first and foremost, what inspired you to get involved in politics?
You know, it's really kind of interesting, but when I was younger, 18 years old, I started at for the Nevada Association of Counties.
Oh, wow.
And just kept building up and watching the process through legislation and with all the local governments and things of that nature. And so I kind of grew up in it.
Oh, amazing.
And then you get to this point where you think, well, I think I can do this. I think I can make a difference. And so then friends, and family and people going, oh, well, we know you can make a difference, Lori. You got to do it. You just got to do it. And so that's what it was.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, so I think I'm going to have a similar experience because I've sort of grown up in this political world because I've been interested in it since I was 17. And so I think we're sort of similar on that front. But in another way, so like what year did you first run? And how many elections now have you ran in?
So I first ran in 2014 for the Board of Supervisors for Ward 3 to represent the community where I live, right? So around that area, even though Carson City is citywide elections, we don't have ward voting, but you have to come from a ward. So in 2014, and so I've won 3 elections because I won re-election to the Ward 3, and then I ran for mayor and won that one, and here we go again for re-election. So this will be my 4th election.
Amazing. Well, that's sort of a key difference for you all to remember between Reno and between Carson City. So when we interviewed Devin Reese, we learned that they do have those ward elections. And so it's a bit different between the two cities up in northern Nevada. And so for this going into this election cycle, what has been sort of your directive and your plan? Because I know each election cycle differs so much. And so what have you been truly focused on the most going into this election cycle?
You know, I think what's really interesting for me is for the public to understand that you're really looking to set the stage for the next 5, 10, or 15 years. It's really not about today because somebody else already put those plans in place. And hopefully you're not planning without execution. And so it's really a proud moment for me to say we plan and then we execute. So Carson City's in the process of updating our master plan. And so we've done like 21 listening sessions around our community to just ask people of all walks of life, right? Business owners, residents, everybody gets a say and an input. And so I'm super excited that between January and March, your Board of Supervisors in Carson City will have an opportunity to put the final touches and update a master plan that the last time we did was 2006.
Oh, wow.
And then the other thing that I think that Carson City is doing that's new for us, not necessarily for Reno, but definitely for Carson City, is we did an arts master plan in 2017 because I think the arts are like part of your soul. They're windows to things that happen, right? Yes. And so I'm super excited. Our hotel industry in Carson City was willing to tax themselves with an occupancy tax. Isn't that amazing that they were able to see the value that it would do to have visitors come to our community to be able to take pictures with art, right? How do you get people to just put Carson City on the map? And so they did a 1% occupancy tax. So we've been accumulating some dollars and we have started these mural events. So we did one last year and we have another one coming up at the end of this month for another 20 murals.
That's amazing.
And I can't wait for the public to see. I've had some sneak peeks, and let me tell you, I think that if our first round was fantastic, wait till you see this next round. So I just think those are things that I think the community is just thriving. And that's what I want to concentrate on. Things that will make our community thrive. Are there tough things out there? Of course, right? What are we facing? High housing prices. I look at what can I do to actually impact those? Not a lot, right? It's very hard at the direct local government level to really impact supply and demand and pricing, and there's a lot of other inputs that impact those, but I still want to try, so I'm super excited. In the next month or two, we have a new project that the city participated in for 80 senior housing and 80 family ones at an affordable rate.
That's incredible.
I'm so excited. It's almost online. It's like, come on, they need an elevator park. Can you imagine? The supply chain from COVID has not corrected itself completely yet.
So I think making sure Carson City is on the map and thriving is so important, because being a Carson City native, I so often have heard growing up that, oh, Carson City's your capital? I didn't know that. I thought it was Las Vegas. And that's such a common thread that I've heard from people who either don't live in Nevada or even Nevadans who just sort of moved here and are reestablishing their homes here in Nevada. And so it's sort of interesting to see that little issue that we have between the recognition of Carson City.
Everywhere I go, even when I travel, is like, oh, is it Las Vegas? I said, no, that's just our most populous.
Yes.
But what's the hidden little charm for me about Carson City? Is it a great secret? How much do you want to let the secret out because you want to keep your small town charm? But I think that people love to visit our community because they see all the charm. They meet the people in Carson City and they know it's one of the greatest capitals. And so, I don't know, I love it, right? So you don't want to grow too big?
Yes.
We really can't anyway in Carson City. We're kind of landlocked. We're only about 147 square miles. So we're going to keep that charm.
Yes. So for those of you who have not visited Carson, I think we're really lucky because on our main street we have all of our main government offices right there, and it's very accessible for us. And those government offices also really make it a priority to include the public in political processes, and I think that's something special about Nevada and about Carson City in particular. And so if anybody ever gets a chance to visit, I very much encourage you to take a trip down Main Street and visit those offices, because it's a pretty special place.
You know what else is super special that I think sometimes we just overlook, right? But maybe COVID brought something out in all of us, and it's the need for connections and the need to be outdoors.
Yes.
I've got to tell you, if you have not had an opportunity to go to our waterfalls and some of our parks and our open space and our trails, we are so unique in Carson City because our residents 25 years ago had the foresight to pass a tax upon themselves, right? If you can believe that, right? That they wanted quality of life, that it was so important to them that we're able to use those funds to just have connected trails and outdoor events in our community. So it's so charming.
Yes.
The community's so charming. So you can have government, but then you can just have peace and serenity and a hike, right? And yet 15 minutes later, you're back home. So, right, you can hike for hours if you want to, but 15 minutes from anywhere in Carson City, you can be on a trail. So I just, the quality of life in Carson City is fantastic.
I agree. And I think what you just said about 25 years ago, the residents setting us up for the future, sort of goes back to what you were talking about a little bit earlier, about how in elected officials, in their positions that they're in now, they're setting up the future down the line, 5, 10 years, 25 years. And so seeing how these laws and those politicians who were around at the time, how they can impact so much in the future is something that's so important. And I think currently we don't fully look towards that future timeline, and we're thinking more about the now. And so I think it's so important to look towards the future.
I think you're completely right. I have some, not everything is rosy for everyone, right? There are people in different stations in their life and they have different thoughts. But I look and I am so proud even of some of those boards in the past. So we have a growth management ordinance in Carson City that I think is also unique, right? That says we're not going to build more than 3% so that we can keep up. And we're not overrun with population, but we also don't stifle our growth, right? So we want what's called managed growth. I think that's another unique thing that Carson City does. I can't take credit for it because there was a team before us that did that. But the foresight that they had to know that you don't want double-digit growth, but you don't want zero. And so to have that managed growth, they got that right. And I'm just thrilled that your current Board of Supervisors in Carson City has just maintained that and just keeps on saying, keep what's good and work on what isn't so good.
I think that's great. So going back a little bit, can you tell us a bit more about Carson City's master plan, sort of what that is, and then how that process works of creating that plan and who's involved in it?
So, the master plan really sets the stage for the community itself. It lets all the residents, all the businesses, all the government elected officials, and everyone say, what do we want to shape Carson City as? What are the most important value statements or things of that nature about the community? Land use is a major part of that, right? Where do you want residential? Where do you want commercial? What types of businesses? What things? Recreation, employment is going to be added this time, I think, to our master plan that the one in 2006 did not address. But as times change, it's what are we missing? What themes and elements do we need to address? So do we need to change things and processes because we now need to deal with high prices of housing? So is there any corridors that need to change? And so I think you're going to see in Carson City a larger expansion. Like we have a downtown mixed use. Is it too small? Do we need to expand it to a larger street, right? Further out. So instead of maybe a half a mile of a downtown, do you really make it a mile or a mile and a half so that we can concentrate efforts in certain areas? But what's the beauty of it is we went to the college and asked college students, what do you need to see in Carson City? What would make you want to stay in Carson City? What would make you open a business in Carson City? What would make you raise a family, right? So you're trying to hit all aspects of life, right?
Yes.
What if we go to the senior center and talk to the seniors and say, what is it that you need in your community for it to be successful when you're a senior? Go to the teachers and what do you think as teachers is important, right? So I'm so excited because we had, like I said, at least 21 different sessions with different groups. The library to just let the public come in and say, what do you think and what should it be? And so I think you're not going to see a huge change from the 2006 version, but you're going to see it refined, and you're going to see, I believe, an employment sector that says, hey, we have to think about how do we keep our Carson City residents employed, and how does the businesses continue to thrive because they need employees. And so I think that's going to be interesting to add that element.
That sounds amazing. And again, sort of going back to the inclusion of the public in Nevada and Carson City politics, I think it's incredible that we have that sort of outreach to where we really are listening to the public, ensuring that their opinions and what they need is taken into account when creating policies. And so I really applaud Carson City and everyone who's working on that semester plan because that sounds incredible. So thank you so much for that. And then sort of shifting, I know you have a school program that I think you started last year, and so I would love if you could tell us a little bit more about that program.
You know what? Sometimes things cross your desk or your mind that you never ever thought you would be involved in. And so this is just one of them. So I read a newspaper article of all things by Jessica Garcia with the Nevada Appeal, and it talked about an impact of COVID with chronic absenteeism in the schools. And it's like, I was reading the number and I actually thought it was a typo.
Oh, wow.
Right? I'm like, this can't be right. This just can't be right. So doing a little bit of contact working with the school district with Megan Newman and stuff. And she goes, no, those numbers are correct. And I'm like, yeah, that was me, Karrina. I literally was like, how can this be? How can it be this high? Because for me, school just opens up the window of opportunity, right? It just has so much there for everyone. And if you're not going to school, it's pretty tough to learn. And so this idea came to me with Megan, and we worked it out that, is it the mayor's job to work on things in the school district? And I finally decided it is. If we don't have successful children, all that master plan and all these other things we're trying to achieve, they go by the wayside if you don't have your youth, right? You need strength in your youth, and foundations. And so I created the Mayor's Attendance Hall of Fame. And all it was about is awarding children with a little ticket that said, if you went to school this week, you can have a ticket and put it in the bucket. And then at the end of the school year, I'm going to draw out winners because you were successful. So they had 10 weeks of this program. So go to school for the week and the ticket will get in there. And then the next week you can get another ticket the next week. And so then, and awarded them brand new bicycles in the elementary schools. And then hard cold cash, right? For your junior highs and high school, because I don't know what speaks more than hard cold cash there. But the other interesting part of the whole process was to get community partners that came with me, that saw that vision with me. So big shout out to Toyota and Glen Eagles, Greater Nevada Credit Union, a law firm, Allison McKinsey, some personal friends, a Monday night football group that said, hey, we're going to give the proceeds of this this Monday night to the mayor so our kids can be successful in school. And so reaching children, we even had movie passes and ice cream cones and things of that nature that gift certificates for the ice cream cones, but that even worked with the children, these positive reinforcements. And so for me, I didn't want the negative. I don't want a police officer or sheriff's deputy to have to go to a door and say, why aren't you having your child in school? I found for me, my life is full of positivity, and if I can share that, and I can't wait next week, the numbers will come out for the improved attendance. That's and exciting. I'm here to tell you, Carson City improved. I don't know that I can take any credit, but I know I didn't hurt the situation. And I'm doubling the program this year.
That's incredible.
More businesses are coming online to help me. And so we'll have 72 bikes, brand new bikes for our elementary students and things. So super excited.
That's such a great program. And again, I think setting up success for the future, like we've been sort of talking about this whole interview, all of these plans are great, but without having the next generation who is going to fulfill them and keep up with them, they are almost useless in a way. And so it's super important that we're empowering our youth and encouraging them to become educated, to become involved, and to become citizens and really embrace their citizenship and their job that they have in the communities in their future.
I love being at Costco and Walmart or Smith's grocery store. You know what's so fun about all this? These little kids will come up running up to me and, Mayor, I'm going to try hard to win the bike. I'm going to try hard. And then the funny part is to watch a parent looking at them like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, it's okay. And they're like, you are the mayor? I said, yeah, it's pretty sad, right? Your child knows I'm the mayor. But I love it. I love having kids have someone to look up to, again, I don't care what the positive reinforcement is. I like positive reinforcement.
I think that's a great way to go about it. So sort of what has been your favorite event that you've participated in outside of your school program as mayor? Because I have happened to see you at multiple community events, especially this past summer as Miss Nevada. We've been able to work at a few events together in Carson City. So which one has been your favorite?
Oh, now she's putting me on the spot. I have to pick a favorite. So I really enjoy doing Sheriff's Night Out. Kenny Furlong, our sheriff, and his whole team does a fantastic job with many vendors and booths and music and dancing, and has a great DJ that just, again, I guess because positivity, I've already kind of let the cat out of the bag there, that I love positivity. And I think that it's a great role model. I want those children to see the sheriff's department in a positive light, and I think that's a wonderful event. But I'm not going to just say any favorites, because the Taste of Downtown, I don't know, that's one, and it raises money for advocates to end domestic violence. And you see, 2,000 ticket holders coming out and just enjoying each other's company, and it lets all of our businesses have an opportunity to showcase their food bites. And you wouldn't think that going to 40 of them, you could get full, because you can't make the 40, right? So you think, oh, this is just a little tiny bite. They're not giving me enough. By the time you've had about 15 or 20 of them, you're like, uh-oh, it's too much. It's too much. So that's a great outdoor event. And then, I don't know, the Brewery Arts Center has been so fortunate to do the Levitt Amp series. All the concerts for free on Saturday nights, right?
That's incredible.
They're incredible, and all different genres of music. So how do you pick a favorite? That was just a mean question.
It's true. Carson City does have so many great outreach programs and community service events that happen, and we have them they happen pretty often as well. And so, again, Carson City is truly really involved in its residents and in uplifting the quality of life of Carson City natives. And so, I think it's such an incredible.
And if I would be so remiss, I've got to tell you about another group, because this weekend, it just hit me, is the Luau for the Boys and Girls Club.
Oh, yes.
So that's their annual fundraiser. But I've just got to brag on what the Boys and Girls Club is doing. I think they're doing I call it their own mini master plan update. I'm sure Brett's going to go, what's the mayor saying there? But I think they went through something too that said, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And should we continue doing it, or should we do something different? But I am so proud of the Boys and Girls Club of Western Nevada. They found, I think, a nationwide issue and thought about how they could help impact that. So it's childcare. I went to a child development seminar yesterday, and really to discover, like, looking in the Carson City, Northern Nevada area, that there's 864 licensed daycare slots, and we need over 2,000. So the Boys and Girls Club of Western Nevada has stepped up to the plate, and they're opening daycare centers all over Carson City, and I believe they've actually got one done now in Minden too. But they're even linking them to businesses in need. So they're working with one with the hospital. They worked with one with the school district. I am so proud that, again, here's something unique, innovative in Carson City. So we may be small, but we are mighty.
Yes, definitely a powerful state capital for sure, and with lots of people who are very invested and who really care about the community. And so that's incredible to hear about. I didn't know about that, so thank you for telling me. That's incredible. So sort of switching to the flip side, what have been some challenges that you have been through and have overcame as Carson City Mayor?
So I don't mind talking about it. So when you have a budget as the city, it's no different than you with a bunch of bills, wants, needs, right? A mortgage, a car payment, and then you have the revenue, the paycheck that you have. And sometimes it's really difficult to make both things match, right? So we're no different in the city. And so one of the most challenging, I would say, needs that is difficult to address is road infrastructure. Very expensive. Years ago, we could repave, grind it up, redo it, $1 million a mile. Now it's $2 million a mile. So when you have double digits, things are doubling in inflation in a cost center. But you look at the revenue that is supported for roads, and it's grown, 10%, 15%. Well, those two things are not
matching up.
They're just not matching up. But the public wants that to. And so when I look at it, I'm sitting at the table and doing that very thing. Okay, what chess pieces or checkers can I move around to try and meet this need? And so I just can't figure out how to get to the neighborhood roads, right? So do you put your money in the roads that have 20,000 cars a day on it, or the one that has 100 cars on it a day? So it ends up being the ones with 20,000, because I can also get federal match. Those roads are eligible for other dollars. So I can take my 11 million and make it 50 million. Or do I put that 11 million on a local road and I don't have any more match? It's only 11 million. And so I feel so bad that I just can't do it all. And so I had to put forth two tax measures to ask the public. Again, I'm letting them help me decide. Do you want me to have dedicated tax revenue that can only be used
For
to
those
fix
neighborhood
for the
roads.
neighborhood roads?
Yes.
And so I don't want to, I don't know what I'm going to even do if it doesn't pass, because I don't want to decimate the rest of the budget.
Yes.
And people go, well, do something, reprioritize. I love that word. I'm telling you, when I hear someone tell me to reprioritize, it's always funny, because it's which priority am I giving up? Because I'm positive it's not when you're raising your hand to give up your money, right? So I don't want to impact public safety. That's 65% of our budget. So reprioritize, I don't have the ability to do it without decimating services. But the public will let me know their thoughts.
Yes.
They've done it before with quality of life. I think we have smart people in Carson City, and they'll make the best decision. They really will.
Very much. And I do think that is such a hard part of being in a role like yours, is the ability to please. It can be difficult because you obviously can't please everybody, and so making sure that you're trying to do what's best for the majority, and ensuring that you're leading with that in mind, it can be hard. And so I think that's something very important to recognize.
It really breaks your heart when I've grown up there, right? There is no vote that I would ever take that I would do to harm the community that I grew up in and that I love. But you have to recognize when you look out in the room sometimes, it's like, 50% are on this side of the issue, 50% are on this side of the issue. And I know everyone in the room. They're my neighbors, my friends, people I grew up with. And it's like they have such vastly different opinions. But at the end of the day, you still have to be a leader. You have to make a decision, and you have to make it with just the best intention. And I feel proud of that. I feel proud of my entire board in Carson City. And what's hilarious or different, I'd be interested to see, maybe some other small towns in America have this, but what's super exciting when I look at our board, we're all from Carson City. We're all Ghost Senators, except for one, but I'm not going to say what Douglas County was, but he still lives in Carson City. Yes, he just, no fault of his own, his dad had to have a job, right? And got one of those that made him live in the county next door, but he's still Carson all at heart. But I think that it's a unique board that brings that perspective and represents every segment of our community. And so I'm honored to be their leader and to work with them.
Yes, I think it's so great when we do have leaders who are from the community. And for those of you who don't know, Douglas County and Carson City, our high schools have a pretty strong rivalry. There's the Douglas Tigers, the Carson Senators, and it's been a rivalry for years. It will continue to be. So that's what's going on with those two counties. But at the end of the day, I think we're all Nevadans, regardless of where you're from. But having a board representing Carson City, who is from Carson City, who understands the community, who lives in the community, is so important, because what they're doing, what they're voting on, directly impacts them as citizens of Carson, not just as board members.
Absolutely
and so it's
correct.
incredibly important.
Absolutely correct.
Yes. So sort of moving on next, what does a normal day look like for you as mayor? So what happens during a normal day of legislative work? Sort of what does your day look like?
You know, I pride myself on allowing constituents and anyone to call in and get an appointment to see me.
Mm-hmm.
So I, generally speaking, will have about an hour a day that really is just a everyday constituent that wants to talk about an issue. And I enjoy those. I can't always help them. I can't always meet their need, but I'm so proud that they have an opportunity to talk about it
Mm-hmm.
and at least get it voiced, right? And sometimes I can't help them today or this, but I can later on. I also have a typical day because I serve on many boards,
Mm-hmm.
right, and commissions. And so I do a lot of agenda work
Okay.
where we're setting up where are we going the next 2 weeks, what's the next agenda, even what order is the agenda, what's going to be in the staff reports, what material we're putting together. That's a section of the day. And then I love to attend a ton of informational sessions
Mm-hmm.
because that's how I learn, right? So I'm trying to grow myself with information. And so I'll go to all these different events. Some of them are seminars. So those are in a day. Actually, I guess I would lump it more into a typical week, right? Do
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 learning sessions. And then ribbon cuttings. Every time there's a new business, I like to go and meet them and thank them for investing in our community. I know when I had my small business, I would have been thrilled
Mm-hmm.
to have a mayor or somebody come and say, hey, thanks for doing this, right? I learned too, what made you come to Carson City? So that's typical. And then a ton of fundraising events,
Mm-hmm.
because I think as mayor, you have to do those too.
Mm-hmm.
I think I try to embody the community in its entirety.
Yes.
And so I look at the week and people are like, oh, mayor, is that, 10 hours a week? And I look at them, you mean a day? So I probably spend about 60 hours a week
Oh wow.
being mayor. I'm going to do,
Mhm.
tomorrow is Kiwanis and the luau
Yes.
that I
I'll
discussed.
be at
with-
Kiwanis tomorrow.
Oh, are
actually.
you gonna be at
Yes.
the-
Mhm.
She was right when she said that earlier, that Miss
we attend a lot of
Nevada.
the same events. Yes.
It's
Uh-huh.
wonderful.
It
And
is.
I don't know that she mentioned either. Aren't you a Carson City girl?
I am. Carson
I
City,
know.
born and raised.
See, I know she's Miss Nevada, but what did I say earlier?
Yes.
Carson City has so many gems, and here's
Oh,
one of
thank
them.
you. That means
We're so
much.
proud of
Thank you
you.
so much. Yes, Carson City, born and raised. I went to Carson High, so I'm on the Senator's side of that rivalry. My mom went to Carson High, so oh wait, that's actually a lie. She went to Douglas. My dad went to Carson High though, so I'm from a little mixed family in that realm. Yes, but Carson City, it truly is so important, and I think using our platforms when we're in positions like this to do good and to attend those fundraisers and to bring awareness to the different communities and different organizations in Carson City is so important because it's really what helps. It helps those organizations to have.
It's
people.
funny
Mhm.
because I have some people, well, is that ceremonial? And I'm like, well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by ceremonial. But for me, when people are asking me to come and present or to give a certificate or
Mhm.
to just, would you come? I lend credibility to their event. They mean it from their heart, how important it is. And I know that those are organizations that bring such value to Carson City.
Mhm.
Their sole intention is to do good for the community. So how could I not
Yes.
go and support them? So
Mhm.
I don't think it's ceremonial. I think it's walking the walk and talking the talk, right?
I agree with that. Mhm.
Yeah,
Because I
so-
do think when you're put into a sort of position like we are, that it's so important that you back up the reason why you were given this position. It's important, I mean, in election season and then in competition season for me, that what I'm saying in that interview room and what you're saying during press conferences, what you're telling the people of Carson City, that you match that after they give you this position. And so it's incredible to see our mayor is doing exactly that. And I think it's super important for all of us title holders as well to take that lesson and to run with it.
I just remember running in every election. It's like, well, what are you promising? And that's where it comes, right? You go, well, I'm probably not a very good typical politician, some of my friends say, because it's about my promise is to do the best job that I can with the information that I have, and to remember that my tagline is, this is my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
It's as important to me as I know it is to you.
Yes.
That's all I can promise.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do anything else but tell you I have your best interests in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right? It's not about I'm better than him or I'm better than her, or I just hope that people are voting for me because I have walked the walk and
Mm-hmm.
talked the talk and done everything I can to make Carson City thrive and be a good place, right?
Mm-hmm.
A safe place for our kids and our seniors, and all of them. I love going to the senior center and doing line dancing, right?
Yes.
That's a little reprieve. I wish I could do more of it. I used to be able to do it every Monday, but I have been super busy this last 6 months, but I got one in a couple of weeks ago, and they're like, Mayor, why are you here more? I love doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about community. In the end, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yes. Well, so moving into this election cycle, Inform to Reform's whole purpose is to really encourage youth voters specifically to be involved in the political process and to be involved in election cycles. And so do you have any advice for specifically youth voters moving into this election cycle?
You know, it really is about doing your homework, and I know that it seems strange, but when there's meet and greets or opportunities to really go and talk to the candidates, go ahead and take that time. It's like, it's amazing what you could learn in 1 hour, or even pick up the phone. I told you all the truth. I have an open door policy. Call me, talk to me, tell me what's important to you, more so that I can even understand what is important to you. I need your feedback as much as you should want mine, right? Yes. This is a two-way street. So I love going to the government classes at Western Nevada College, and they've got a great teacher there that wants engagement. So attend that class, go to it, and really have dialogue. And that's, don't take the big time advertising, although all my ads are great, right? How do you say that? Because how do you reach them? And I would love to learn more is, how do I reach the youth to let them know they can talk to me?
Well, I think your advice about doing the homework is so important, because we know going into election cycle that it gets muddy sometimes, it gets confusing. We have candidates promising certain things that they may not actually be able to follow through with, and so I think it's so important for these youth voters to really do their homework, to understand who their candidates are, and again, just as Lori said, to reach out, because they are available and they want to make your community a better place.
I'm going to say something that, again, I'm not a very good politician here, but when a politician is promising you something, on day one, I'm going to do X, ask them the true question. I am the mayor of Carson City, and I can bring forth plans or agenda items, and I can set a stage, but I alone cannot do it. And that's what I want the youth to understand is, for me in Carson City, that means 3 votes. 3, not 1. And so how well can I convince 2 other members? Or hopefully, I pride myself on the vast majority of our initiatives and issues are done unanimously because we're working together as a team. So really, when you have a politician, I don't care what level it is, and they're just promising you, just remember, there's no such thing as a single single person that can get anything done. So you want to look for candidates that can tell you the truth of how they're going to bring that initiative forward. That's someone that's talking to you that might say, hey, on day one, or I'm going to continue to promote. For me, it was the arts, right? And so people go, oh, she's the art mayor. And so I lean into that because I believe in it. And so my position doesn't change because of who I'm talking to.
Yes.
I believe in the arts. It's that simple, right? So do your research and find those candidates that their belief system is closely aligned, or more closely, because I don't think there's any 100%ers out there, right? We all are individuals.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so lovely getting to talk to you, getting to learn about what work you're doing in our Carson City community, and moving forward into this election cycle, how voters can reach out to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've so enjoyed our time together.
It's been great.
For a couple times.
Yes,
so wonderful to do events
and I'll
with.
See you tomorrow as
That's
well.
right. We're going to find that out.
Yes,
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for another podcast interview with Inform to Reform. Make sure you stay tuned for our next guest, and I can't wait to see you there. Thank you.